Um, I'm really excited about this one because partially I grew up eating this regularly. And well, I kind of like this lady who's going to cook with us. And so she's going to bring us a nice light and I call it refreshing summer salad, but other
Mhm.
people might not call tabbouleh a salad. Good day. What made you pick these recipes? And tell us a little bit about why you want to bring it to us.
Well, hello. Thanks, Or, for inviting me to do this. Hi, everybody. Um, so my ethnicity is Lebanese. I was born here in the US, but I grew up in a culturally Lebanese community. And so these are kind of my comfort foods. I mean, I cook these, I eat this a lot during the week. And it's fresh and refreshing and light and delicious. And I think, you know, healthy and simple. So I thought it'd be fun to cook with, and so that's what I'm going to do. My
All
name's
right.
Anna, and
As I mentioned before we started recording, one of the few things I have a hard time growing in my garden is mint for some odd reason. And it's really almost an invasive species. Once it establishes itself, it'll take over the whole garden. Actually, down on our farm, we probably got a whole acre, and it would take over and the grass wouldn't grow in that area. But when I had 150 goats, that's where they would go for like a little snack. And man, milk from goats that ate mint. But anyway, I was so desperate and I couldn't find it in any stores. I went with dried mint. This is horrible. I feel so bad about it that I had a hard time finding mint.
no, don't feel bad. Because the truth is, so I where I live now, I had a little pot of mint, and like you, I've always had mint, a lot of it. But now where I am, for some reason, the mint didn't take, and it blows my mind because, like you said, mint is so versatile. So I actually don't have any fresh mint, and because I make tabbouleh so often and don't always have mint readily available, I have come to make it not using mint at times if I don't have it. And I hope all of the Lebanese grandmothers are not turning over in their grave right now as they say that. To me, it's still fine. I know mint adds that element that, you know, it's a really subtle, you're not putting a lot, but it's subtle, and it does this kind of alchemy that just really makes it bright. But I also think it's quite delicious without the mint. And there have been times, so it's interesting you say that about the dried mint. There have been times where I'm like, well, I do want some flavor, and I just get
I didn't even think of that. I could have just used, I have tons of mint
bag. And I mean, if I don't have dried mint on hand, I just get a tea bag.
I actually like bought a thing of mint, and I have like mint as tea. Oh man, that was a waste of money there.
If you do use the dried, I don't use the whole packet because it's very concentrated. Because when you use it fresh, you only need about 10 mint leaves.
Yeah.
Because you're just doing it, it's just subtle. So I will not be using mint today. Well, I might use some dried mint, but those of you who have the fresh mint, when I'm cooking the tabbouleh, please add it. And if I forget to mention the mint, remind me. So today I'm going to be making quinoa tabbouleh. So I use quinoa. Traditionally, it's made with bulgur or cracked wheat. And I try to avoid wheat, and it's a very nice substitute. Quinoa is a complete protein, and it has the same, it just works. So
I love it. I love quinoa, but I've never made this with quinoa. I've made it with rice a lot when I started getting, like, I grew up vegetarian, and our meat of choice was gluten or soy, but now it's hard for me to eat much of either.
yeah.
So I was making this as a rice salad. I was making like a tabbouleh rice salad. But oh man, I'm imagining the taste right now using quinoa, and I think it'll elevate it so much.
Yeah, I love it. So I'm gonna make that and hummus. So the first thing that we need to do though, when you're gonna make both things, is the first thing you need to do is cook the quinoa, because you gotta cook it and then you gotta it, because you can't add the ingredients to it hot. You know, because it'll wilt the parsley and stuff. So you can use, you know, the thing with quinoa when you're making tabbouleh is if you need to make your tabbouleh go further, you can add more quinoa. Like if you don't have as much parsley and tomatoes, or you're serving a big bunch of people. But generally I think a half cup is plenty. So I have a half cup of quinoa, and whenever you cook quinoa, you double the water. So I'm gonna do a half cup of quinoa.
Now,
And
have you ever done it with basil? I got given a local farmer when I ordered the parsley. He said, "You want some basil?" And so I don't know. I've got lots and lots of basil. So
that basil looks beautiful. I have never made tabbouleh with basil. I have made hummus with basil, and it's delicious.
all right.
Yeah.
And look at all these little tomatoes I got. Oh man, it's like a good balance of tomatoes.
So how many servings will the half cup of quinoa make typically with the other ingredients?
I mean, a quarter cup of dried quinoa is like a serving according to my package.
Diana's picture froze.
It's like, so.
Uh-oh, we lost Anna.
Diana's, maybe she'll come back.
But it's like, start the water. Let me pause the recording for a second. Oh. It's just like.
Happens all the time.
I remember that one we did with Indonesia. Like we lost her like 4 times in that. So,
wow.
So I started my hot water.
Yeah, so you dump your quinoa and your water together in the pan, and we're gonna bring it to a boil, and then we're gonna simmer it. We're gonna just leave it on the heat covered and let it soak up the water. So while that's cooking though,
Well, I have a question. You said you put the quinoa in water and then bring it to a boil, so you don't bring it to a boil and then add the quinoa.
Right, you just put it all
Okay.
in your pan. So dump your quinoa in, dump your water in your pan, and turn your heat on high. And then while we're letting that cook, we're gonna go ahead and start the hummus. So I have a blender, I have a Vitamix. If you're using a food processor, you want to add your solids first, like your garlic, your hardest foods first, and then the liquids. If you're using a blender, you want to do the liquids first, and then the solids. So little detail there.
All right, let's see, what do we have to put in it? It's just beans.
So we're gonna use garbanzo. I use canned beans because it's efficient, but if you know, I know that's the thing, like, you know, maybe you don't want to use the can. I mean, they're not
I made it one time with cooking the beans beforehand, and I actually didn't notice a difference in taste. Usually other things, pre-cooking the beans makes a big difference, but I never felt with hummus it was the case.
Yeah, I mean, I need to get an Instapot, and then that might change my life a little bit. But anyway, so I'm using 2 cans of beans, just because I like to have a lot of hummus and like to have some left over. Okay, so I'm keeping an eye on my quinoa. My quinoa has already started boiling, so I'm gonna turn down the heat. I'm gonna just scrape the quinoa down off the edges to make sure all the quinoa that kind of floated up from the boiling is underwater.
Remember from last week, the molasses, the pomegranate molasses? I'm addicted to this. This is from Iraq. I think, well, or just from the Middle East period. I'm addicted to making that with water now. That's my new lemonade.
Oh, fun.
Oh my goodness. It's like, it's sweet and sour and has a slight mineral taste to it, or, but, oh, I know.
Okay, so I'm gonna open up my 2 cans of garbanzo beans. And I drain them and I rinse them.
Do you have any idea how many cups 2 cans would be equivalent to?
We
Um,
can measure it here in a
I
second.
can
but-
tell you. Well, on the can, like if you're gonna soak dry beans. So this is 3.5 servings, half cup. So 1, 2. Okay, so this is how many cups is this? If it's a half cup serving size and there's 3 cups, oh my God, it's time for me to do math in public. I can't do it. I'm just panicking.
What is 1.5 cups?
According to mine, it's 1.5 cups of.
A half or
Okay.
2 cups, basically.
Got it.
Okay.
Cool, thank you.
And that's in 1 can, and we're using 2. So I'm gonna step away for a moment over to my sink. I guess I could turn the camera, but I don't know if you really need to see me.
Yeah, I rinse canned beans too, because it gets rid of the salt.
Yeah, and
helps.
then it, you know, when you soak beans, they emit a gas, and that's the gas that causes like bloating and stuff. And so if you rinse them, it helps reduce that. So I'm gonna come over here for a minute, and I'm just rinsing my beans. So while I'm doing this, you can rinse yours too, if you are. You know, some people say that you can, if you want to hold back the liquid. So here, wait, hold on, I'll come over there. If you need to add liquid for making hummus, you know, people will hold back the liquid that they drain and use that. I don't do that with cans. If I had fresh, maybe I would, but
Which is exactly opposite. I grew up, we were like, we never wasted it, and I have a really hard time pouring out the stuff.
Yeah.
Luckily,
Never pour
garbanzos,
out
the
the
liquid
water.
from garbanzo,
You
you
can
can
use
make like
it to
a
make
pretty-
aquafaba, which is a vegan mousse thing.
yeah, and so that's, it is good for that kind of thing. It's just my own personal thing. I don't like to use the juice, but I know that a lot of people do. And so if you want to reserve it back and use it for your liquid, please do.
For me, it's about the salt.
There's way too much salt in canned stuff nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I have 2 cans of garbanzo beans. So garlic, if you're wanting to, so garlic is a staple of hummus. I used to use a lot of garlic. I mean, I love garlic, but in recent years, I'm trying to like not be so garlicky in my diet. And so sometimes I make hummus without any garlic, and I know that seems weird, but it's actually still quite good. If you have for 2 cans of garbanzo beans, you can use anywhere between 1 and like 6 cloves of garlic. It just depends on your own garlic preference. I'm personally only gonna use like 1 clove today because, but I know that's not standard, but that's just me and that's what I'm going with. But I encourage you to use as much garlic as you would like. And like I said, you know, around 3 to 6 is probably, 6 is gonna be really garlicky hummus. So I put my garlic in there. And for lemons, for 2 cans, you want to use a whole lemon. I use fresh lemon.
Now, did you say you drain the beans, but you also rinse them?
I drained them and rinsed them, yeah.
You know, for something easy, what I do is when I get a bag of lemons, you know, I'll have them there for a while. And then when it looks like I should use them and I don't use them, then I cut them all up and get all the juice and put them in those little teeny plastic, you know, these little teeny plastic things. And then I just put it in the freezer. So when I need to use it, I just get one of those little ones out and use it.
Good idea, because I always feel like I never have, like I've reached the point now, I just buy it in the, you know, the juice in the, not
In the
fresh,
jar.
and it's not as good at all.
It's
Yeah.
not, you can really tell a big difference. So I have this handy dandy little lemon squeezer that I love.
Yeah, I have one of those too, because it holds the seeds back and you can really squeeze all the juice.
All I have is the bamboo one.
Oh, no, they don't
Yeah.
work as well.
They don't work as well. And you have to worry about the seeds.
Yeah. With the lemon, again, this is going to be a to taste thing. I can tell already that my lemons start with just your one lemon, but I can tell my lemons are kind of, I got like a hard batch. You know how sometimes your batches of lemons are hard. They're not as juicy. So I'm going to add personally another lemon right now.
How can you tell the difference? Honestly, I don't know.
With the amount of juice that comes out, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, like, how do you tell a lemon is, I don't know, ripe or anything?
When it's soft, you touch it and you squeeze it and it's
I can
soft. and-
tell like how much juice came out of my lemons was
Mhm.
not a lot. So
Oh,
I'm,
okay, yeah, that part, yeah.
yeah, that's
And Suzanne says that 1 cup of dried garbanzos equals 4 cups of cooked. FYI.
Okay.
oh wow, okay, cool. So add your lemons. We've got our garlic in there, we got our lemon, we got our garbanzo beans.
I still need to rinse my beans here.
Oh, okay. Am I going?
No, go for it.
Okay.
I'm just doing my usual where I make like a lot more, so I'm doing a twice as much as you.
You can
Okay.
slow down just a little bit for me, just like talk a little slower. For
Okay.
that reason.
Well, Lulu, she's always like 10
Lou
minutes
is always
late.
running late.
But today you were on time, Lulu. You were excited about this one?
Okay. So thanks for that feedback. So we've got our lemons in there, our garlic, our garbanzo beans, and we're gonna add some tahini. So
Well, just to
I
let you
tahini,
know,
yeah.
I personally absolutely hate tahini.
you hate
Oh, I
tahini.
love it.
I grew
love
up
tahini.
like we ate so much tahini that I don't know what it is. Like, and they say your taste buds change every 7 years. Every, few years I try it again. Like I absolutely love anything with sesame seeds, which is all tahini is ground up sesame seeds.
That's right.
And for some reason, I cannot do it.
So are you substituting something?
You can't with this. I don't feel like there is any way. Like what I've done in the past is just toss in sesame seeds
Mm,
and then grind them up. So get fresh sesame seeds. And
that's
for some reason, that's okay. for
I
me.
wonder what would happen if you put something, like almond butter. If you just weren't gonna put tahini, maybe almond butter or something.
But then is it still hummus? I don't know.
It's
I
not
mean,
the same. I understand. Yeah.
I had a cousin that used peanut butter one time because they didn't have any tahini. It's gonna change the flavor, but if you have enough lemon and garlic, you can probably do it.
Fake it.
Yeah, but something is less, like something more mild than peanut butter, like almond butter or cashew butter. Any kind of paste will help. But now I'm gonna use about 6 tablespoons of tahini. And I personally don't ever measure anything, but I know 6 tablespoons is good. I just pour mine in, but you measure yours.
But it's also based on your taste and preference, right?
Exactly.
Now, have you have you ever put in the lime skin itself?
I use lemons. I don't use lime.
Okay.
For
The skins are bitter.
I have I make a vegan cheesecake, and when I make the vegan cheesecake, I put the entire lemon in the food processor. The whole.
Ooh. All right, we're having you back for that one.
It also has a lot of
Okay.
sugar or sweetener, so it offsets the bitterness of the peel, I think.
So
I always put my tahini in the refrigerator, so I never have it runny and soft like what you
Yeah,
have.
me too.
right. Well, I had mine sitting out on the counter actually, but this tahini, this brand is, I like it a lot, and it is very oily. Like some tahinis are just so like dry, but this one's got a good balance, and so
And you got that at the Lebanese store?
I did.
Middle Eastern store, uh-huh.
You can probably find it in any international store.
And it doesn't go bad. You can just leave it on the shelf.
I refrigerate mine after I open it, but I have heard people say they don't refrigerate it, but I wouldn't feel okay with that. I would
Probably not in Florida, especially.
right. Okay, and then we're gonna add some salt, and you're probably gonna want about a teaspoon of salt. I'm basing this on our 2 cans. So
Here's a lady that
We
doesn't
washed
measure.
out the salt and now we're putting it back in. I'm just kidding.
Right.
I'm just teasing Fred.
So you're gonna add your salt. Now olive oil, you can add olive oil to the hummus, or you can add it on top at the end as garnish. I go back and forth with olive oil. If I know that I don't have as much liquid and I'm gonna need some liquid, I add olive oil. And lately I've been just adding olive oil to it. I used to never add olive oil. I always just put it at the end. But I'm gonna just for today add a little olive oil. You don't need a lot, just drizzle it in. And we've got all our ingredients now. We've got our garbanzo beans, our garlic, our tahini, our lemon, and our salt, and some olive oil.
So I guess going back, what I meant is with the lemon, do you do what do you call it, Fred?
Oh, the
talking-
zest.
zest it.
The
You're
zest.
talking about zesting. Yeah,
You add a
zesting.
little of that in there because that seems to be a common thing when you use fresh lemons.
You-
But,
I have never done that, but I'm sure that would taste delicious.
but
If you
but
want
again, like Fred said, it's probably bitter, but I don't know. I think the outer part of it is
No,
not.
the
as
zest is okay. It's just you don't want to overdo it. You know, just make sure you only get the outer part.
So, we're gonna go ahead and blend it. This is gonna be loud. Should I mute? Maybe I'll mute this.
It actually automatic mutes.
It'll automatically mute when it gets loud.
Oh, that's convenient.
Yep.
Okay.
So just remember, don't talk while you're running the blender because we can't hear. We learned that.
All right. So here we go.
Kind of all right.
Yeah, those Vitamix mixers are really great.
Yeah, this one is not exactly a Vitamix, but it's I got it at an auction from a smoothie shop that was closing, and it's supposed
Yeah, I
to
can. Yeah, it's
it has
big.
less buttons, but it's a bigger motor.
Yeah, I can see it's a big one, powerful. Yeah.
I think it's 3 horsepower. I've actually
Yeah.
made almond flour with it. Right, just
Well, I did my hummus a little bit earlier today. I got, anxious to eat it. And I didn't have any garbanzo beans in the refrigerator, so I just used white beans and it turned out perfect. I couldn't tell the difference.
so I guess how much can we change the recipe and it not be and still be called hummus?
I know that your classic Lebanese person is going to be pretty annoyed when they go somewhere and it's a white bean hummus, because hummus means chickpea. So if you're going to make a white bean hummus, call it dip.
White
Well,
bean
you can't
dip.
tell, when you taste it, you can't tell the difference.
With white beans versus chickpeas, you mean?
Right.
Well, the
You can't-
Lebanese can tell the difference.
The
I don't
Lebanese.
think so.
I could tell the difference.
Well, because I used some other things in it too to flavor it, but it was definitely with the lemon, garlic, olive oil flavor.
I have tahini.
Yeah.
White
the
beans,
tahini,
All right.
Yeah.
I think they had tahini. I mean,
Yeah, you hear stories of people dreaming up all kinds of stuff and calling it hummus
we
because they
got
use
chocolate
something
hummus
else.
now and pumpkin hummus. And
Exactly.
like, okay, you're switching out white beans for chickpeas. Okay, you can call it white bean hummus, I guess. Call something pumpkin hummus or some kind of other hummus, and it doesn't even have like beans or tahini. Don't call it hummus. Call it pumpkin dip or something.
Right.
So try your try, my hummus is not the texture I want it to be. So I'm gonna add, and I think it could use more lemon. So I'm gonna add more lemon. I want you, so I cook with, by taste. I'm giving you a blueprint recipe for this, and if you're following it, work. I'm not measuring, so I have to just keep trying, but you want it to taste bright and you want it to taste flavorful. If it feels like everything's there, but it's just flat, you might need more salt. For me right now, it's too thick and it's not bright enough. So I'm gonna add lemon, and that's gonna give it liquid and brightness.
Well, I do the same thing. After I get it all mixed, then I do the taste test and then I start adding more things.
Yeah.
And I suppose if you weren't concerned about the salt initially, you could hold back some of the water if you wanted to add more liquid or not from the can. That's a choice, a personal choice, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, depending on how, excuse me, thick you want it. And I think it's different too if you're using a food processor versus a blender, in terms of liquid. Okay. I'm gonna just add a touch of olive oil again, but
It looks like my quinoa's done. It looks like it's got that ring. Does that mean it's finished?
yeah, if it's all the water is absorbed,
Yeah.
yeah, so that's good. We're gonna,
Was I supposed to turn it off?
yeah, as soon as it boils, you bring it to a
Okay.
simmer.
I
Oh,
missed-
has it been boiling this whole time?
Yeah, but it looks fine.
Okay, well, as long as we're checking our quinoa, let's do that now. Everybody go and look at your quinoa and see if all the water is absorbed. My water is absorbed and the quinoa should look a little, like a little fluffy.
Yeah.
That means it's done. And so if your quinoa is looking good like that, what we're gonna do, we need to cool it down, and we need to cool it down quickly. So I want you to take it out of the pan that it's in and put it in like a shallow bowl or some kind of bowl. And then we're gonna put it in the freezer. So if it's like in a wider based bowl, it'll cool off faster. And we're gonna put it in the freezer. Now, if you're making it for later, don't put it in the freezer because there's nothing worse than frozen quinoa, like trying to thaw it out. Because I've done that and I forgot about it. And you can just put it in the refrigerator if it's gonna be a few hours, like if you're making it ahead. But for
If anybody's not made quinoa before, it really weirds me out, the little worms in it. It's the little sprouts.
yeah,
It's no matter how many times I make it, I still think it looks weird.
it's a strange looking thing.
But the flavor, oh my goodness, I think it's one of my favorite grains.
Yeah, and I like the texture of it a lot, and it can absorb whatever flavor you're working with. So I just put this in a bowl, and I'm gonna stick this in the freezer, okay? So please, is everybody's quinoa done? If your quinoa is done, put it in the freezer so that the timing will work out with everything.
Okay, you got yours in the freezer, Lulu?
Yeah.
Pen for good, buddy.
Okay, so let's come back to our hummus. If your hummus looks good and tastes good, then it's done. But mine was not because I rarely get it right on the first try because I rarely measure. But those
Mine is definitely too thick, was too thick, so I added more lemon and oil and a little bit of water to finish blending it.
you can add water too, for sure.
Now mine tastes too garlicky, and I only put, this garlic must have been really good, strong and fresh, because this is a double recipe and I only put 4 cloves.
Okay, yeah.
Garlic pop to it.
Yeah, it can, like when I ate hummus growing up, my hummus had like the hummus I ate in my family was garlicky and lemony. When I went to Lebanon, the hummus there is not as lemony or garlicky. It's very mild, and it it's nice. I like it. And so I started making it more mild here. Okay, so I'm gonna run this again. I'm gonna hit my mute button for a minute.
I think I made mine too thick. Look, it won't even
Yeah.
move.
Add some more lemon and olive oil.
Yep. I think I have to do that anyway because again, it's too garlicky.
You could also maybe add a little bit more tahini. I know you don't like the flavor of it, but depending on if your tahini is one that's kind of oilier or one that's thicker, it might help with the consistency some. That sometimes is an issue that I face, and it is a tahini issue.
Good point.
Well, I added the dried red pepper to mine too, because I happen to like peppers. So
Oh yeah.
Little red pepper hummus, that's nice. Well, sometimes, like Diana had said earlier, adding basil. I know that whenever she makes the basil hummus, it's
Oh,
to die for. Can
I
you
could
tell
add
us
basil to
how much
this?
basil you add whenever you do make basil hummus?
Do I know? Did you just ask me a question?
Yeah, can you share with the class how much basil you do whenever and like.
So when I harvest my basil from the garden, I get like a softball size, like a packed softball size, like
Ooh.
that. If I don't have that much, believe me, I don't always have that much here in this garden. I just use as much as I can, as much as I can harvest. Because you know how you need to harvest your basil and then you gotta let it replenish, right? And sometimes I'm a little quick on that. And so I don't get as much the second time. But yeah, to make basil hummus, the key is more olive oil, more garlic, and more lemon, and the basil. Oh, God, it's really good. It's
So I had to run out and I have 5 plants of it. I have tons of basil right now. So
oh,
add that to the hummus at this point
if you want to add that now, yeah, and you're probably
while it's blending.
yeah, just throw it all back in your food processor, and you might want to add more lemon and more garlic, but you can, and more salt.
I'm looking forward to this. I don't think I've ever had basil hummus. I've had red pepper, olive.
Hummus is very, 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 very good in my opinion. Okay. So we have people still making hummus. Does anybody have hummus done? Ready to go?
Oh, look at that.
Oh, wow.
And it'll actually, your hummus will actually be green when you use basil hummus. If you don't have as much basil, then it'll just kind of be like a slight green color. But if you have a lot of hummus, a lot of basil, it'll be like a really pretty green color.
Okay, well then I'll add more because it's only slightly green.
Yeah.
I have plenty of basil.
Basil, add it. Just add all the basil.
How does it taste, Ar?
Honestly, based on how much I put in there, I thought it would be stronger taste. So I'm gonna add a lot more.
How much you have there? Is that pure basil, or do you have mint or something else mixed in?
Well, it's got parsley on this side, but mostly it's basil.
You could probably use all that basil.
Okay.
But if you want to use the basil for something else, then because
I've got another bunch, just the same amount. So
this is a huge, you're double batching, right?
I am, yeah.
So I would definitely add all that basil if I were you. Okay, my hummus is pretty good. Actually, I feel like it needs more lemon. Sorry, usually I get this right a little quicker. But mine's basically done, but while he's doing that, I'm gonna just add more lemon because why not?
And what's your preferred texture of it?
I like it.
Some that was kind of liquidy and some that's really thick. And
I don't like it really thick, and I don't like it really liquidy. I like a nice, like when you scoop it, it just glides. Like you can just glide.
Spreadable.
What?
Spreadable.
Yeah. Like I don't like it liquidy. Ugh. And I don't like it so thick that it tastes dry.
Are you scooping with like pita or some flatbread?
So when okay, I used to, now that I don't do gluten, I'll use rice crackers or vegetables like cucumbers are delicious with it. But for this meal, what we're doing with the tabbouleh and the hummus, I just use the tabbouleh and the hummus together. I mean, I like eat them with a spoon. If you have Lebanese bread or flatbread or pita, you could instead of using a utensil, you can use the bread as your utensil. But I just use a spoon and I eat them together and the flavors mix and it is really good, which is why I wanted to share this with you. So I'm gonna mute this one more time and then I know that my hummus is gonna be done. Actually, I'm gonna just add a dash of salt. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just putting all the basil in. I'm just de-leafing the stems. One thing I learned with the basil is you take it from the big end and you slide it towards the small end and it just pulls all the leaves off.
That is literally so smart. I have
always tried to do it the other way, but I don't know. I saw someone do it and it just pulls the whole thing off.
That's so easy.
It's exactly opposite of what you think to do, but it just.
I never like pick it off my plants. I just pick leaf by leaf and that takes, you know, about 10 years. But if I just like
Oh, yeah, I
harvest it,
mean, you just hold the thing and you just put your finger on it and you slide it. And it just
that's
takes
so
all-
satisfying. I love that.
So.
Okay. So I think I didn't hear anything anybody was saying, just FYI, because my thing was going, but so I hope I'm not interrupting a conversation.
No, we're just talking about basil.
We were just shooting the shit about it.
Okay.
So my hummus looks good. How's everybody else doing? You may have any questions?
Mine looks and tastes great.
Awesome. So then what we're gonna do is my favorite part, which is dishing it up, because I love to make it look pretty. So take whenever you're dishing hummus, you want to put it in a shallow plate. You don't want to put it like in a deep bowl. You want to. I use a plate like this. It's shallow.
Oh, really?
As you know, it's got edges up on top. So because this allows you to just really scoop it, you know, it really allows you to like just go and swoop through. So I'm going to plate this up. So you can see the consistency that I have. It could be, sometimes I have it a little bit thinner than this, but this is pretty smooth and creamy.
Man.
Wow, that looks good.
Oh, that's a good color, or that looks delicious. So you want to taste that, and you know, it's going to have a bold flavor. You want it to be bold. It might need.
Oh yes.
Right.
Oh, I wish I
I
could
was
taste it
thinking that was
myself.
way too much basil, but no,
Oh.
it's like
It's perfect,
I
right?
could actually use more, I think, even. But
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
really good.
Yeah.
I just had this idea of maybe throwing, because I don't have basil, maybe throwing pesto in there.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing the pesto would have that hummus doesn't is the black pepper, really. Oh, and the Parmesan, if you have
It's got Parmesan and pine nuts. I think,
There's no
but
Parmesan? Or
It's
there
got
is?
Parmesan, yeah. Anyway, I don't know.
It
I
was-
think it would be a costly way to make hummus.
Yeah,
That's
I
true.
would-
It'd just be something, another dish, that's all.
right. I don't know, pesto is so pristine, you know, in and of itself that I would, it almost would feel like sacrilege to the pesto. But also it'd be probably pretty delicious. Okay. So This out of the way. So you can see, I've plated up my hummus. And then I like to kind of smooth it out. And then I like to make like a little sort of spiral divot. I mean, that's just what I do. You don't have to do that. But because then we're gonna drizzle some spices and olive oil. And that's how the olive oil will fall in. So I like to, this is just what I do. Traditionally, people might put sumac on top, or I've seen even people do paprika, but sumac is a spice, and it's kind of tart. So it's a tart spice. You can buy it in bulk at an international store. But
And traditionally, that's how I make like a pink lemonade. That's why I kind of love this pomegranate molasses, because it's, to me, it tastes very similar to.
So you
Well, that's how they do it in Lebanon. Is that right? Diana?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. Like when we were in Lebanon, not all the hummus had sumac on it, actually, now that I'm thinking.
Oh,
It
I've never used
it
it.
depends on, I think, the region. But I like the sumac, so I sprinkle it all over it.
Is it kind of like red pepper?
It does, it's, the color is like a deep red purple, but it's not like pepper at all. It's tart.
Oh,
Yeah,
It's not peppery.
It's
And
in
I
North America, at least the Native Americans, that's how you get vitamin C.
Yeah, it's more like a citrus, isn't it, in some ways?
It has this, yeah, it's got like a tang, like a citrusy tang. I also like to add cayenne pepper on the top. This is again ground. This is just me, but this is the way I do it. I'm just teaching you the way I do it. This is not
What is
anybody's.
that?
Huh?
What is
Cayenne
that?
pepper.
This is cayenne pepper.
Okay. I'm still blending, so I'm missing everything everybody's saying.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Good thing we record it.
Do
So
I?
basically, olive oil, cayenne pepper, and some sumac.
And then and this is just again me, I like to take some Himalayan pink salt and just do a little twist on the top. But I'm a salt person, you know, I like salt. I love salt. And then I drizzle the olive oil.
Oh, wait, I did the olive oil first. Oops.
It's okay, it doesn't really matter.
But you made a swirl for the olive oil to stay in there.
Yeah. And I
And then a little,
put on.
you put cayenne pepper or crushed red chili peppers?
I put ground cayenne pepper, so it's a powder. It's not flakes.
So I've got ground red pepper and ground cayenne.
I would use the ground cayenne, but
Cayenne's really strong.
yeah. So you
Will
don't
you
have
hold it onto the camera?
oh, that looks
I have to
great.
Be very careful with the cayenne.
I'm dripping the olive oil, but can you see?
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
So, and then now the hummus is done, and we're gonna set that aside.
All right. I probably should have did the cayenne first before the sumac, so I could tell how much, because they're both about the same color.
Yeah. You know, the cayenne, you don't have to, this is like I said, this is just the way I do it.
Or
You know-
smoked paprika, you said?
I don't do smoked, but and I don't do paprika. I have done paprika if I didn't have something else and I wanted the color. But you can do paprika for sure. I think the smoked flavor though would totally alter the flavor. I would personally vote no on the smoked paprika just for this dish. If I was doing something else, smoked paprika, thumbs up, and not for me. Not
Wow, that look good.
it looks beautiful.
Well, I'm gonna have to specify that it was basil hummus, because otherwise everybody like, why was it green?
Yeah.
But that's all right. I'm excited. Oh wait,
Yeah. I think I will
I'm
do it
not
by
waiting. I'm
myself.
sorry. I was just like,
So the person, I can't remember your name, that was still making the hummus, how are you doing?
Lulu.
I am adjusting the flavors. It needs more garlic and more basil. So I might just stop and go with you guys on doing the quinoa just so we can keep the show rolling, and I'll go back and adjust flavors.
Okay, well, and it's good that you know that you can recognize what it needs. So yeah, just tweak it until it tastes good. That's
I'm gonna get full in the process though.
tweak it until it tastes good.
I'm sorry, the show's over. I'm eating the hummus for the rest of the show. I got some.
You never wait. You're always eating your food.
Well, let's move on. I really do want to get this tabbouleh going. So what we're gonna do next is the tabbouleh. Our quinoa is still in the freezer and we're gonna leave it there. I'm just gonna take out a cutting board and grab a bowl.
We won't need our blender for this, will we?
No, well, okay, so that's another thing. Some people, like, if you want to make it fast and easy, you can put your parsley and your green onion and your mint in there and just go zip, zip, and you're done. But I chop mine, I don't know.
Okay, that's cool.
I think it
because
would take longer for me to clean it out, the blender.
Yeah,
and obviously mine's being occupied right now.
right, exactly. So I'm gonna chop. So we're gonna start, so we're gonna have tomatoes, green onions, parsley, and then mint if you have it. And salt and pepper, lemon, and olive oil. Those are and then you mix it with the quinoa. So let's go ahead and we'll start with the parsley.
So I want to ask a sacrilegious question, maybe. Can we rinse out the blender of the hummus and use that as a base?
You use what as it? You mean use the hummus as a base to the tabbouleh?
Yeah. I've got all this.
I would. So it would taste good, but here's my thought on that. That's gonna make your tabbouleh creamy. It's gonna add like a creaminess to it.
Okay.
And you want, we're using herbs and so the creaminess will like weight down the herbs. And you want everything perky. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the other part of that is when we eat it, we're gonna be eating it tabbouleh and hummus together. So inevitably it's gonna get all creamy on your plate. So if you don't care.
But you want to have distinctly separate flavors too.
Yeah. And
So.
especially because yours is basil hummus, and that's going to changes the flavor. Okay, so we're going to start. So now it's really important how you chop parsley for tabbouleh. Really important. The diehard Lebanese ladies, they go through, and I remember doing this as a kid, picking the parsley off of the stems, because you don't want stems. What I do now is like, sorry, I forgot to. See, this parsley has like a lot of stems. So when there's obvious stems, I definitely get rid of them. But you want to chop the parsley really, really small, really small. And the way to do that, there's a trick, again, that I learned when I was a kid.
You get your grandma's food processor and just. Bzz.
Yeah, I actually have made, when I've been in a hurry and didn't feel like chopping, I put the parsley in the blender. The problem is I have a blender instead of a food processor. A food processor would be great. You just do a zit, zit, and it's done. But I find with my blender, and maybe this is just user error on my part, it gets too fine. It almost is pulverized, liquidy. It's like half of it is too, like not chopped, and half of it's like liquid. So we're gonna do this. So what I want to show you is when you have your bundle of parsley, you want to squeeze at the very top. Let's see if I can turn. And when you're chopping, if you cut where it's squeezed together, you're going to have a better chance of getting it very small. Why am I using this knife? Let's use this one. So I'm squeezing it together to cut it really small. And there's so many stems in this parsley. Oh my goodness. So I'm gonna do my best not to get really, since we are on a, do we have a time limit? If I don't want to take up time pulling.
No. Take your time.
Okay, 'cause look at these.
No,
stems.
we actually try really hard on this show to not prep things ahead of time to show realistically how long it takes.
Okay.
None of this 5-minute making a lasagna thing.
Right. They do that thing where they like tap it and then like boom, it's the completed product.
Or you put one in the oven and take the other one out. Oh, it's ready.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Okay.
we do try to keep it within an hour, but sometimes that's just not realistic.
Okay, well, if you have a lot of stems in your parsley, just kind of go through and get them out. And then, it's okay. You can have some stems, but you'll just have to chop them real small. But this batch of parsley that I happen to get is extra stemmy. Because usually I'm not a super particular. Okay, I don't know. Maybe I'm kind of particular, but not always. And when I'm cooking, if I'm really hungry, I'm like, I don't care about stems. But right now,
I was looking for the French term chiffonade when you kind of roll up herbs before you chop them.
yes. Thank you for that. Okay, so this is good enough. And maybe you're all getting your stems out too. And so we're all doing this together. Or maybe you're all just waiting for me to move on. Okay. I'm going to move on. So you're going to get your parsley in a real tight bundle and start chopping. Because there's nothing worse than like when you're trying to eat tabbouleh and you got these really big parsley leaves. I just find it really kind of depressing. Depressing.
Off-putting.
Huh?
Off-putting.
Off-putting, that's it. That's a better word. Thanks. Everybody's coming up with these good words for me today. Okay. So
On a regular day, if you weren't like teaching, how like fast is this meal usually?
I can make this like in under an hour.
Both dishes?
Huh?
Both dishes?
Yes. And usually I'll throw them in black rice. I make this really good black rice, but that would have been too much to do today on a show, but I can tell you about it. But yeah, because I've gotten the timing down. So like when, you put the quinoa on first, and then I immediately make the hummus, and then I start, and then the quinoa's in the freezer, and then I start chopping the veggies. And by the time the veggies are chopped, usually the quinoa, because I put the quinoa in the freezer right away.
Oh no, it's frozen.
Your quinoa's frozen already?
I forgot to take it out when you were talking earlier.
Well, no, mine's still in.
Mine's still in. Let me see.
Oh,
You have a good freezer.
yeah, and I spread it real thin on a bowl, so.
Mine is still kind of warm.
Oh, wow, I do have a good freezer.
Okay. If I was making the black rice, I would, maybe I just won't start talking about that because that's a whole other thing.
Another show,
Huh?
another show.
Yeah. So I got my parsley. Looks pretty good. Okay. I could even give it another pass if I wanted, just to make sure, but we're gonna cut it. And put that in your bowl. And then you're gonna use a couple of green onions. If you have more tomatoes or more quinoa, you can maybe do 3. I don't like it when my tabbouleh has a strong onion flavor. I like the onion to be subtle and just adding depth, not tasting oniony. In which, when green onions are done right, that's the way it is, and it's really nice. So I just cut my green onions. I just chop them small. I'm not using the right knife right now. It's okay.
And when,
One day I'll stop chopping and start actually using a food processor because I always make such large quantities.
Yeah. If you, okay, so yeah, if you were, if you wanted to put these in the food processor, you could just, or blender, you could just cut these in like four long pieces and put it in. What I would do is I would do the green onions first, and then I'd add the parsley so the parsley doesn't get too over chopped, if that makes sense. I guess I could have been teaching it that way for those of you who wanted to use the food processor.
and when are we supposed to be using the mint?
So you can do that now too. So we're just chopping our parsley, our green onions, and then our mint. So if you have mint leaves, you could toss that in with your parsley and chop it into your parsley. Or you can chop it separately to make sure you're getting it all chopped up nice. Because right now we're just assembling the ingredients. So we've got our parsley, our green onion, and our mint. And we're all just adding it to our bowl. So how's everybody doing? Do you have your, so everybody got their parsley, their mint, and their green onion?
I do, yeah.
I gotta do my mint.
Okay. And then we're gonna move on
Do
to,
you ever use any other kind of onion? It's always green.
I like green onion. Red onion significantly changes the flavor. It's good, but I wouldn't call it, oh my God. Lebanese people go crazy when you start talking about the ingredients in tabbouleh. Like, I'm not adding cucumbers, but some Lebanese people say your tabbouleh has to have cucumbers. Other people are like, that is blasphemy. I've never really liked cucumbers in my tabbouleh.
But you're trying to make like a light and refreshing salad when it's really hot out. So, right?
Yes.
I don't like cucumbers either.
Yeah, it just changes the taste. It's a texture thing. I love cucumbers, but not in my tabbouleh. It's a texture thing. So you want to dice your tomatoes very small. So I just make thin slices with my tomatoes, and then I stack them on each other, and I do it again to make little tiny cubes, like maybe 1/4 inch cubes.
Did you already put the mint in?
I'm not using mint, but yes,
Put that in.
it's time to use the mint. Like chop that up and add it to your green onions and parsley, or chop it up with your parsley.
Okay.
Yeah.
You should drop the link to that Tabbouleh song in the chat.
Oh, do you have access to the chat, Rainey? You could do it.
Okay, what was the name of the guy? I'll Google a song.
Remy, and it's the Tabbouleh.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that would be
Tabbouleh
funny.
song.
There's this guy, there's this Lebanese guy, and he makes these parodies. He makes like music videos that are parodies, and he's got one about Tabbouleh. All his songs are really funny. I don't know if that's going to violate any copyright laws, though, since they're doing this on YouTube.
Why don't you just sing it?
Rainey, you could pull it up, and they can hear it.
Okay.
Well, you can just put it in the chat, and then we can listen to it later.
Yeah. That's
Okay. Okay. I'll do that.
He's
Oh,
fun.
isn't a parody making fun of another song anyway?
Well, he does that like he's got a like, hey there, Delilah, but he uses everything like he's so funny. I can't even think of all the things he does, but it's all like with Lebanese food and Lebanese things.
Oops.
The Tabbouleh song, I think, is his song. I don't think that's a parody of another song, but it's just funny. He's like just making fun of himself and Lebanese people, and in a nice way. Like it's funny, but
So the tomatoes are ultimately getting chopped?
yes, I'm chopping the tomato. I'm dicing the tomatoes, so you can see. I want them to be kind of small-ish. Oh, I don't know if you can tell scale on this.
Yeah, in your hand I can.
Okay, because it's nice, you know, this is a thing that you don't necessarily want big chunks. Because traditionally, like, again, remember you would pinch this between your flatbread, your Lebanese bread, your pita bread. And so, and I like to eat it, I eat it with a spoon. Like when I make.
Well, everything that goes in here is, you know, really minced,
Yeah,
you know, chopped up real fine.
yeah. You know, back to your question about the onions, or I do make this one thing that's with red onions. I don't call it tabbouleh, but it's got parsley and tomatoes, and I use red onions and lemon and olive oil and black pepper and salt, just like tabbouleh. And then I add garbanzo beans, like whole garbanzo beans.
Okay.
And what else do I put in there? Oh, I said parsley.
Yeah, I tend to like, you know, what I call one pot meals. So that
Yeah,
one's
it's
not
like
too
tabbouleh, but instead of quinoa, it has garbanzo beans, although you could do quinoa and garbanzo beans. And instead of green onions, it has red onions. Oh, and a jalapeno pepper. It's delicious. I like that. I just made that one up the other day.
So the tomatoes can go ahead and go in the bowl?
Yeah. And you can decide how many, you know, tomatoes you want. I'm gonna do,
This is nice. It's going for a lot of different colors and a lot of different light flavors.
You know, in Ayurveda, which is a traditional Hindu Indian form of medicine, there are 6 tastes. There's sweet, sour, salty, pungent, bitter, and astringent. And we all need different proportions depending on our constitution of each taste for our own health and well-being. But generally speaking, if you have all the tastes in a meal, that's really good for you. And I'm just trying to think about this right now. The onions would be pungent. The lemon is sour.
In Jewish culture, what do you call it? Parsley is considered bitter.
Yeah.
There's
parsley.
also umami.
Yeah. And they don't specify umami in Ayurveda, but I know what you're talking about, that flavor. But yeah, the parsley would be the bitter. Any greens are bitter. The tomato would be.
I think that would be the umami because
Sweet and acidic, I would think.
it's acidic and it's umami at the same time.
I think, and the tomato might be considered sweet since.
I think it's sweet for sure.
Yeah. So we have sweet, sour, pungent, bitter. The quinoa, we could call that astringent. Actually, the quinoa might also be considered sweet.
Yeah.
Because grains are considered sweet. So we might not have an astringent in this. But I'm gonna
We have lemon.
the lemon is the sour.
Oh, lemon's the sour. I got it.
The difference between sour and astringent in Ayurveda is the astringent is more drying. So you know, like when you like cranberry juice, you drink it and like there's no moisture on your tongue anymore.
Yeah, it puckers up, makes you
Right.
pucker.
That would be considered astringent. A lot of legumes are astringent, like lentils are astringent. Okay, so I'm gonna stir this up and see what my proportions look like. So I have my herbs in there and the green onions and the tomatoes.
This is a perfect time of the year to get tomatoes. They're just like so flavorful.
Yeah.
These tomatoes were donated by a local farm called Back Acres Farm.
Nice.
As in back, it hurts my back acre.
There was a Back Acres in Marion. There used to be a long time ago. Is it?
Yep, that's the same one.
They're still in business? That's so good to know. I thought they closed up or something.
No,
Okay.
they donated like almost all these,
Oh, how wonderful.
you know, because I cook extra and I give it away. So this is like
You're so
my
awesome.
Sundays, my charity cooking and my meal prep for the week. So I do both.
Okay, so see this? This was 3 tomatoes worth, and I want more tomato in mine. So I'm gonna add another tomato, but you get to decide for yourself how tomatoey you want it. I want another tomato in mine.
Well, mine are all the little cherry tomatoes but they're all ones that have to be used. So
Yeah.
lots
So
of
yeah, you can just use it by eye. depending.
I was disappointed to hear that we had to cut these up real fine because I was like, these little cherry tomatoes, I could just toss them in there.
Oh, or you probably could have just
It's
left.
all right. I'm almost done anyway.
Okay. Yeah, because trying to cut those little ones up, you're just squeezing all the juice out.
Oh
babe.
no. So one trick you can do is if they're all the same size, you just set them under a plate and you can just run the knife underneath the plate and you can do a whole bunch of them off the same time.
God, I love that trick. Oh my God. Thank you for sharing that. That is a
I
really
don't understand that at all. Wouldn't
Okay,
they, if
let's see
you
if I
put them
can
on
show
the
you.
plate, wouldn't they fall?
So you just, can you see, I got all the tomatoes under here
Uh-huh.
and you just, with the plate, you're holding all the tomatoes.
Oh,
and then you
I
just
got it.
run the knife
Okay.
underneath it. And then, wham, they're all cut in half.
You have to have a really long knife.
Pick it up, let's see.
Amazing.
Okay, good.
it is.
Wow.
All cut in half.
That's such a good trick.
But it only works if
You
you're,
could do that with olives. You could do that with cherries.
yep. So
Wow.
this plate, my tomatoes are all different sizes. So I picked a plate that's a little concave and I put the bigger ones in the center and the smaller ones on the outside. But if they're all the same size, you want like a nice flat plate. And this is a small plate. This isn't like,
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
it is a little.
so.
Okay.
Now I had one big one I didn't put under, so I have to actually cut that one.
Okay. So I added another tomato and I'm liking the way that looks. I could even add another one, but I'm going to call this good because I think maybe I didn't stir good. So that seems like there's a nice balance of red and green. So that's what I go for in terms of knowing how much.
Tomato.
Okay. So now we have all the ingredients in here except for the quinoa. Now we're going to add our spices. You probably want to do a whole lemon. I'm going to do lemon. How are we doing? Is everybody with me?
Still chopping tomatoes.
Okay.
All right, I'm ready. Except. Well, I already used my lemons. I'm gonna have to use bottled lemon juice. That's not good.
No, I mean it'll be okay.
I know, but
You don't have any fresh lemons. Probably maybe half cup.
oh, I see. I messed up. It said 1 to 2 lemons for each one, and I just bought 2 lemons. Okay, that was my mistake.
You know how some people like their staples are bread and milk? My staples are lemons. Like I'm always going to the store to get lemons and parsley, I swear, and cilantro. Those are like my staple. And tomatoes.
My mom actually has a lemon tree in her house,
Oh, that's amazing.
but she only gets like a few lemons out of it. But
I live in Florida now. I should try to grow a lemon tree. Okay, so you have all your ingredients in your bowl. Should I wait a minute or what should I do? Oh, wait a minute.
go ahead.
No, we're putting the juice of a whole lemon in there.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm gonna do a whole lemon.
Yeah, I'm with you on the lemons being a staple. I have limes, but I just don't care for the flavor as much personally.
I mean, I don't go through limes as quick. I only go through limes when I'm doing like guacamole and
Mexican, yeah.
When I'm adding it to like water to drink, I do prefer lime than to lemon juice.
That's good.
Like I said with my lemons, I'm gonna add I already know that I'm gonna need another lemon. So I'm adding another lemon, but I wouldn't advise you to add another lemon yet.
Oh,
until-
show that trick you just did where you squeeze more juice out of it.
Oh yeah. When I just do this, like when my lemon's whole, I can't do it now because it's cut.
You
But
just roll the whole lemon under your hand and it releases more juice.
Yeah. And also citrus that is at room temperature, also you get more juice.
Diana,
Yeah.
sometimes too, if you take your lemon right out of the refrigerator, if you run that under hot water and then roll it, that really releases the juice.
So bring it up, warm it up, basically.
Yes, especially like you just take it out of the refrigerator, run it
Well,
under hot
I've
water.
never kept lemons and limes in the fridge. I always kept them just in a bowl on the counter. Is that
Oh,
wrong?
well, I always keep mine.
So then already, yours is already at a good temperature. But like my mom's saying, if it's in the fridge, you want to warm it up. This is my mom, by the way. She's the reason I know how to cook. So we should say-
Well, my mom, I thank her regularly for being a bad cook, so made me learn how to cook.
Oh,
Three generations.
yeah.
Yes,
Frank is
yes.
a really good cook.
That's
too.
it. That may be a new record on Ora's cooking show, I think.
Now we're gonna add some olive oil. And I don't really know how much to tell you, maybe a quarter cup. I'm gonna just go like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know. That was probably a quarter cup. You just want to get it, you want it to be, you want there to be a nice balance of flavor between the olive oil and the lemon juice. Some salt, maybe a teaspoon. You can start with a half teaspoon if you want.
Have any of you ever used black salt?
I have not.
So it's also from the Himalayas. Actually, if you look at it, I don't know, tinted. It's almost like pink, but it's also from the Himalayas, and it has a higher mineral content. So if you like pink salt, you'll definitely like black salt.
Nice.
If you look at it, it's, I don't know, more of a grayish pink, this particular one.
Right, that's nice. Yeah, and if you're using Himalayan salt, any kind of rock salt, or you might not need as much.
I started using this when I was told I needed to use less salt, but it's just so much more flavorful.
Yeah. And then black pepper. You want to go pretty liberally with that. I don't know what did I just probably do there? Maybe a half teaspoon. We'll start with that. I apologize like I have a better idea with the hummus, like even though I'm still throwing them in, I kind of know a staple, but with salt and pepper for tabbouleh, I honestly have no idea. I just salt and pepper it to taste.
Call it. That's a proper recipe. Is you have to be an artist. A recipe is just
Yeah. The guideline.
a guideline. There you go.
Well, I agree, but if you've never made the dish and you don't, you do it to taste, salt and pepper, I understand, but a lot of the other ingredients are a proportional thing to get the essence of the dish.
Yeah, I agree.
But I mean, example is I put 4 cloves of garlic in a double recipe and it was too garlicky
Yeah.
for me. So
So stir up what you got, and you want it to be juicy, not
these
necessarily.
tomatoes were definitely juicy. This is like, look at that.
Yeah. And then so here's what this is looking like. And I'm gonna get my quinoa and see how the quinoa is doing in the freezer. Okay. My quinoa feels pretty cold. So you guys can check your quinoa, and if it's cold, go ahead and grab it. And then we're gonna add this to the tabbouleh.
All right.
And if your tabbouleh is still, if your quinoa is warm, you really don't want to, you want to chill it more, because if you put warm quinoa in it, it's gonna like kind of wilt the parsley. So hopefully your quinoa is chilled. And if it's chilled but not cold, you can always add it and then just refrigerate it so that you get it to the temperature you want. But if it's chilled, it should be fine. If it's cool, it should be fine. So are we all ready to add the quinoa? And you can see this was a half cup of quinoa, and it made quite a bit.
It fluffs right up, yeah.
So after you add the salt, what else do you put in? I stepped away for a minute.
Yeah,
Pepper?
salt and pepper. So it's salt, pepper, lemon, and oil.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. And then you stir in the quinoa. And you just want to stir it really good so it's all evenly distributed. Oh my God, this looks really good.
Beautiful. Mhm.
So,
Smells so like fresh.
did we both just say fresh at the same time?
Just like,
Okay. So here's a look. You see that?
Want some?
On my way.
So now I want you to look. See, now there's not that much quinoa in here relative to the tomatoes and parsley. If I was going to be feeding a huge amount of people and
it'll look like this.
and so you could, yeah, because then it'll still taste delicious. You just might need to alter the spices.
Oh, yeah, let me taste.
It goes further because, you know, like tomatoes and parsley, unless you have your own garden, those are expensive. And so it's a way to stretch it. It's a way to feed more people, just so you know, okay? But this,
Oh, yeah.
so I'm gonna try mine. So now we're gonna taste it and we're gonna see if we need to, I will describe what it should taste like so then you can know whether you need to, what am I trying to say? Add more spices. Mm. Mm.
I'm trying to think if it needs anything. It's very, very light. So I'm like, it's not like any one flavor is jumping out.
Mm-hmm. So for me, when something tastes good, but it's not like, whoa, good, I always add a little more salt. Because right now my tabbouleh is really good, but it's not like, oh my God. And I want it to be like, oh my God. And salt brings out flavor. So all the flavors that are in there, the salt's gonna bring it out. So I'm adding more salt, but it had a good balance of lemon and oil. And it had in the pepper, you know, the pepper's a right amount of pepper if it's got just kind of like a little bit of a kick. Just not spicy, but just a little like, a little zing at the like end of your bite.
Because the pepper and salt are both flavor enhancers.
Yes. And so if you want to enhance the flavor of the, so the peppers, how do I explain flavor? The pepper's gonna, the salt will bring out the flavors. I feel like it, I could be wrong about this, but I feel like the salt brings out, when the food's in my mouth, I taste it all over my mouth. The pepper, I taste in one part of my mouth. Or at one, not at one stage of the bite. Maybe that's how to do it. I don't know.
There's a warmth that you get from black pepper, you know, an after warmth in your mouth.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna try this again.
It's delicious.
Mm. Yeah, the salt really helped that. It was really good.
Mine's pretty runny. I think the tomatoes were juicy, and then when you add the salt, everybody just gave off a lot more juice. So I have some juice at the bottom.
That's okay. I've had a lot of juice at the bottom of mine in the past, and it will get juicy. I mean, I've had tabbouleh where it's been sitting out, and it just gets juicier and juicier, and it'll be like, you can see, it's almost like the juice is up to here.
Okay.
It's okay.
Okay.
Just when that does that, just make sure that before you spoon it up, you really stir it up because all of the spices sink down into the juice.
Got it.
You just want to keep it stirred.
I made my hummus fancy. I put a couple basil leaves on top.
Oh, pretty.
Oh, that's good.
So I'm gonna get this out of the way so I can show you the two things, and maybe I'll plate it up on a plate. Okay.
Yesterday, I went to a global market and bought a really delicious olive oil, and what a difference that makes in these, you know, non-cooked kind of salads. It's a really great flavor.
It really does. I just found a good olive oil recently that I'm very excited about. It's this. Oh my God. It is very good.
Where's it? Where are the olives from?
I have to put my glasses on to let you know.
Got it. This one's olives are from Turkey, so they're all over the Mediterranean and California.
These are from Sicily.
Oh, nice, Italian. Cool.
It's really good olive oil. I can eat it by the spoonful.
I live in California and I never really care for the olive oil in California. I don't know if it's just my personal preference, but I've tried
My
it a few
plate with
times.
the little rice crackers. So.
Those rice crackers look good. That whole meal looks good. Or
Mhm.
so here, I'm going to show you mine, and I'm going to plate it up. So here's the hummus and tabbouleh. So colorful. And I'm going to put
So
some
pretty.
That sumac just gives it a little pep.
Yeah.
Really nice.
Yeah. Woo. How is it, Or?
Go ahead.
Mhm.
Oh my God, this looks so good.
Hey, Diana,
Huh?
be prepared. I'm coming in December. You're gonna cook for me.
Of course I'm gonna cook for you. And here's my plate.
Beautiful.
Absolutely beautiful.
So,
All right.
you
Does
guys all
anybody have any final questions? And
can we all have a little bite to eat together? Just
oh, we'll stop the recording and then we'll chat and eat afterwards.
oh, okay.
Yep. Anybody have any final questions, or would you like a final wrap up? Thank you so much for sharing this. I've grown up eating this, made it, and there was a bunch of little enhancements and tricks you made that you didn't even know you were doing.
Cool. I'm glad. That makes me happy. I had a lot of fun doing this. So thank you so much.
Anybody have any last questions? All right. Thank you.
Great
everybody.
job. Good job.
Thank you.